what happened to him, man. He was found in a bad situation where nobody, especially as a mother, man, have to, bury their child. But this, they done took it to a whole nother level. I don't know if his friends did that or when they, maybe, and he was out of Alabama or one of these, they might have one of them sundown towns or whatever. We're gonna get right into this video of this young brother, man. Once again, no mother should have to go through this. But that's why, man, that's why it's very important. Even though some of y'all guys, you girls, I tell my daughter the same thing. Even though you 18, 19, 20 years old, they think they know everything and think that you're not supposed to tell the parents where they're going at and things like this, and things like this can happen. I mean, just as a blink of an eye, as soon as they leave, because you don't know what your son or daughter doing once they leave outside your household. Maybe we'll get right to this video. So make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Not only subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this situation, because this just happened not too long, just a few days ago in Washington D.C., where this young brother from out Suitland, Maryland, was found in an apartment over in powered up in Suitland. I mean, that's Suitland, Washington D.C. on Robinson Place. But we're gonna get right into this video.
Breaking story tonight out of Barber County, Alabama. The family of a missing 18-year-old says after searching for him for days, they made a horrifying discovery in the woods. Right. Our Elizabeth White has more. A warning, the details in this story are disturbing.
I looked for 5 days for my son with no help from the Eufaula Police Department. No help. Me and my family in the rain. On Mother Day, I walked around through wood.
They basically burnt my baby, shot my baby, burnt them up and chopped them up.
A mother spent Mother's Day in the rain, not at a restaurant.
That's a lot.
Not opening cards for her children.
That's
not being celebrated the way every mother deserves to be. Yolanda Wynn spent Mother's Day on her hands and knees, pushing through wet branches and soaked Alabama soil, searching for her 18-year-old son. And the part that should stop every single one of you in your tracks right now. She did it alone. No police officer beside her. No search dogs deployed by the department. No helicopters overhead. Just a grieving mother, her family, and a community of volunteers who refused to let Marksvious Rumph disappear without a fight. And when that search ended, it didn't end with relief. It didn't end with a phone call saying he was okay. It ended with a discovery so brutal, so savage, so deeply disturbing that investigators couldn't even confirm his identity at the scene. Because whoever took Marksvious Rumph didn't just LL him. They dismembered him. They set him on fire. And they left him in the woods of Barber County, Alabama, like he didn't matter, like nobody was coming for him. They were wrong. And today, we're going to talk about every single thing that happened, every unanswered question, and every reason why this case has shaken people to their core. Stay with me. And if you are new here, this channel is dedicated to making sure that the people who are forgotten are never actually forgotten. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a story that needs to be told. Now, let's get into it. Marksvious Rumph, known to people who love his story here in Washington, D.C., 18 years old and living in Eufaula, Alabama. He had just earned his GED. He was enrolled to attend welding school. His father, Marcus, described him as the kind of person who could walk into any room and instantly make it louder, warmer, better. He was the life of the party, Marcus said. He was going to make you laugh. This was a young man with a plan. He wasn't drifting. He wasn't lost. He was building something.
We knew that a system like NetSuite will help us scale. Having put NetSuite in place, we've definitely optimized our processes.
This story remind me of a story that happened here in Washington, D.C. A young brother went with his friends, left out the house without telling his mother, left out, and never came back. And they found him in Washington, D.C. He's from Suitland, Maryland. But he went, Suitland, Maryland, anybody know about the DMV? Suitland ain't that far from Washington, D.C. And this young brother left, and for some reason, him and his friends got hit up for whatever they was doing out in the street, and the mother never seen him again. That's why you gotta be very careful, man. Even some of y'all think y'all grown enough, nobody can't tell y'all nothing. You need to let somebody know where y'all going at, because anything can happen.
May 7th, 2026,
and
he left
just
with
happened, May.
And he never came back. When Marksvious then returned to his grandmother's home in Eufaula that evening, the family grew concerned. But it wasn't just the silence that alarmed them. It was what they were hearing from the community. People were talking. Troubling information was already circulating in the streets. The kind of information that makes your stomach drop when you hear it. The family took that information seriously, reported Marksvious missing to Eufaula Police Department, and then did something that tells you everything you need to know about what happened next. They didn't wait. They went out and started searching themselves.
Without the police,
Because apparently they had to. Now I need you to think about that for a second. This family heard something disturbing enough about their missing son that they immediately began organizing a search. That means whatever was being said in that community. It wasn't vague. It was specific enough to send his mother and father into the woods. So the question I keep coming back to is this. If the streets were already talking, why weren't the police listening? 4 or 5 straight days, a 12-person search party organized entirely by Marksvious' family covered ground through Barber County. They brought ATVs. They brought drones. They brought a hound dog. They showed up with every resource they could pull together because no one else was pulling resources together for them. And through all of it, through the mud, through the exhaustion, through the absolute terror of not knowing what they were going to find, Yolanda Wynn kept going. Mother's Day came and went while she was out there in the rain, still looking. Can you even imagine what that feels like? To be a mother. On the one day a year this world sets aside to celebrate you, and instead of celebrating anything, you're soaking wet, pushing through Alabama woods, calling out your child's name and hearing nothing back? That is the reality this family lived. And they lived it without the help of the department that was supposed to serve them. And that absence is where this case stops being just a tragedy and starts becoming a controversy. Because while Yolanda Wynn and her family were organizing search parties, coordinating volunteers, and dragging themselves through rain-soaked rain, one question echoed louder with every passing hour. Where were the police? According to the family, there were no officers walking beside them in those woods. No official search grid. No K-9 units camped in the area. No air support scanning from above. The people who loved Marksvious were the ones knocking on doors, asking questions, following tips, and risking what they might find at the end of every trail. And in many missing person cases, especially when the missing individual is young, time matters. The first 24 to 48 hours matter. Yet here, 5 days passed. 5 days. That's not a small delay. That's not a misunderstanding. That's an eternity when you're talking about a missing teenager. The family has said repeatedly that they felt dismissed, that their urgency wasn't matched, that the fear they were living with didn't translate into action from the people who were supposed to protect and serve. And to be clear, law enforcement has acknowledged that an investigation was opened. They have confirmed that remains were found. They have said the case is ongoing. But what they have not done is publicly explain why this family was left to do the searching themselves. And that silence is what fuels suspicion. On the 5th day of searching, the nightmare became real in a wooded area of Barber County. The family came across something no parent should ever have to see. Human remains, burned, unrecognizable at first glance. Law enforcement was contacted after discovery, and the area was secured. Investigators would later confirm that the remains belonged to Marksvious Rumph. Let that sink in. The family didn't just find answers. They found the worst possible ending, and they found it themselves. For Yolanda Wynn, the grief was immediate and overwhelming, but it didn't come alone. It came paired with anger, with disbelief, with a question she was asked publicly more than once. If we could find him, why couldn't they? That question hasn't spread far beyond Eufaula. Community reaction was swift and intense. People expressed heartbreak to the family, but also outrage at the system. Many couldn't understand how a case involving an 18-year-old who vanished under suspicious circumstances didn't trigger a visible, aggressive search response. Social media filled with messages asking why a mother had to spend Mother's Day searching in the rain instead of being supported by trained professionals. And that's where this case touches a nerve for so many people. Because for a lot of viewers, this isn't just about Marksvious. It's about a pattern they believe they've seen before. A pattern where families feel unheard, where urgency feels selective, where official responses feel slower than they should be. Whether that perception is fully accurate or not, it exists, and it exists because of moments exactly like this. Another controversial aspect of this case is what hasn't been shared. As of now, no suspect has been publicly named. No clear motive has been officially outlined. The exact sequence of events between the moment Marksvious was last seen leaving with a friend and the moment he was found remains unclear. That information gap leaves room for speculation.
Terrible.
And speculation thrives when transparency is limited. The family believes Marksvious knew whoever did this to him. That belief is based on what they were hearing early on, the same information that pushed them to start searching immediately. But law enforcement has not confirmed or denied that theory. And again, the lack of confirmation feeds frustration. It's important to say this carefully. Accusing police of intentional neglect is a serious claim, and there is no public evidence proving that officers deliberately ignored this case. But what is documented is the family's experience. And their experience is one of feeling abandoned when they needed help the most, and perception matters. When a family feels unheard, when a mother feels alone, when a community watches volunteers do what professionals usually do, trust the roads. Even if investigators were working behind the scenes, the absence of visible action created a void. And that void has now been filled with pain, anger, and questions. Questions like, why wasn't there a coordinated search earlier? Why did the family feel they had to rely on tips from the street instead of guidance from authorities? Why hasn't there been a detailed explanation of the initial response? These are not unreasonable questions. They are the questions any parent would ask. And through it all, one truth remains undeniable. Marksvious mattered. He mattered to his parents. He mattered to his friends. He mattered to the people who searched for him. And he matters now, even after his death, because his story is forcing uncomfortable conversations about response, accountability, and whose voices are heard when someone goes missing. This case is still unfolding. Investigators say the work is ongoing. The family says they want justice, not just for Marksvious, but so no other mother has to experience what Yolanda Wynn did. And that's why we're talking about this, because silence is easy. Looking away is easy, but remembering, questioning, and demanding answers, that's how stories like Marksvious Rumph are kept alive. And that's what we're going to continue to do here. Right now, investigators say the case is still active. They say they are working leads. They say they want justice. But for the family, justice cannot begin until truth comes first. And truth requires transparency. It requires answers. It requires explaining not just who did this, but how an 18-year-old could vanish, rumors could circulate, a family could mobilize, and yet official urgency still felt absent. This is where the case shifts from grief to responsibility. Because when people ask why the story has struck such a nerve, it's not only because of how Marksvious was found, it's because of how he was searched for, or rather, who did the searching. A system designed to respond to emergencies appeared distant, while a mother and volunteers stepped into danger themselves. That reality has forced uncomfortable questions that no press release can erase. And here's the part that matters most going forward. Cases like this don't fade because families let them go. They fade when the public stops paying attention. The Rumph family has made it clear they won't stop asking questions. They won't stop pushing. They won't allow their son to become another name that people vaguely remember but no longer talk about. For them, remembering is an act of resistance.
Right.
Speaking is an act of survival. The community response proves they are not alone. People across Alabama and far beyond it have shared this story not out of morbid curiosity, but out of a sense that something here went wrong, that a line was crossed, that a moment passed where intervention could have changed everything. And while we must be careful not to jump conclusions, we must be equally careful not to accept silence as an answer. If law enforcement follow protocol, then the public deserves to understand that protocol. If mistakes were made, they must be acknowledged, because accountability isn't an attack. It's a safeguard. It's how trust is rebuilt. It's how future families are protected from experiencing the same isolation. At the center of all of this is a young man who had plans, who had laughter in him, who had a future that was stolen, and a mother who now carries a pain no parent should ever know. This channel exists for moments like this, to pause, to look directly at what happened, to ask the questions others are afraid to ask, and to say, clearly and without apology, this life mattered. If you are watching this and you know something, anything about what happened in those.
Once again, this is brutal. This is unforgivable, man. I mean, I don't know how anybody can,
A gruesome
go through this. I mean, the mother, man, reached out to the people that supposed to protect and serve. Nobody helped her. Can you imagine a mother on Mother's Day finding her son like this? Make it make sense. She found her son in the woods, dismembered, all beat up, messed up, burned up, and everything. Come on, man, make it make
and
sense.
heartbreaking story tonight out of Barber County, Alabama. The family of a missing 18-year-old says after searching for him for days, they made a horrifying discovery in the woods. Our Elizabeth White has more. A warning: the details in this story are disturbing.
This is what the mother said.
Well, you gotta pay all of them, pay. Everybody that's involved, I want them to pay for my son. Everybody that's involved, gonna pay for my son. Everybody that's involved, gonna pay for my son. Everybody.
A mother's grief is tangible, the pain unthinkable. For 5 days, Marksvious Rumph's family searched for the missing 18-year-old after they say he was last seen Thursday, May 7th, getting into a car with an acquaintance. Then came disturbing information from the community. Fearing he had been badly hurt, the family launched their own search over Mother's Day weekend.
I looked for 5 days for my son with no help from the Eufaula Police Department. No help. Me and my family in the rain on Mother's Day. I walked around through wood.
Then Monday, in a muddy wooded area off of White Oak Church Road, their search ended in horror.
They basically burnt my baby, shot my baby, burnt them up, and chopped them up.
And you were the one that found.
Yes.
How does a father deal with that?
I'm dealing with it best I can right now.
Tuesday, investigators were back in the woods searching for evidence as the hunt for a killer or killers continues. The family does believe someone known to Marksvious.
Man, that's you.
Can I just hear a gun, fires?
How vicious can that be? How vicious and crazy can that
A
actually
gruesome and
can that be, man, for you on Mother's Day? When you supposed to be celebrating, your son's supposed to be celebrating his Mother's Day with the mother, or mother should be celebrating her, the day that she gave birth to a son or a daughter. And did you walking through woods without the police help or none of that, just to find your child in a situation like that? And then the father found her. And the mother, I don't know if the mother walked up on it and seen it too, but the father definitely seen it. That's something that can never be erased from your memory. That is crazy, man. I mean, this is the time we live in. This month. You know what I mean? It is what it is, but make sure y'all, man, love y'all kids, man. And if y'all got location on their app, put an app on location on their phone, even though that might not mean a lot to a lot of you, but I don't care how old they get, 20, 21, 25, they're still kids. They're still your child. You'll never want to go through the pain that this mother, what she just felt about her son, and nobody helping. The police is none of that. Maybe because he was, is different from other people. I mean, that's the only way I can see it. I just can't see that you just took it upon yourself. And listen to what the father said.
Burnt them up and chopped them up.
Wow.
And you were the one that found.
Yes.
How does a father deal with that?
I'm dealing with it best I can right now.
Tuesday, investigators were back in the woods searching for evidence as the hunt for a killer or killers continues. The family does believe someone known to